Hey there, welcome to the channel. I'm Cindy Daychuck with Queen Bee Creations, and today we're going to be doing some Christmas ornaments. I want to try doing textured ornaments without the use of clay or resin or molds. So for those of you that don't have molds or the molds are too expensive, I want to give an option that is maybe similar to how some people are using molds, but without using molds. Oh, I thought these were patterned, but it was the plastic. Okay, so I just have some ornaments that I thrifted. Now, if you start with ornaments that are already the color that you want, then you can carry on. Or I have some that are just kind of a neutral tone and noisy. Plastic is noisy. Okay. So they're fairly neutral. We're going to paint over this once we've added the embellishment, so I don't have to paint them first. But this one, I want to do a couple. And I'm going to take this out so that I can dry them this way. And that way I don't have to worry about it. But I want to do a couple in a different color tone just so that we get a variety of looks when we're done. So I think that's a better example of things. Who knows what it's going to look like, but so let me just see. To start with, if I paint it this way. So this is just a Seaside by Fusion, and I'm just kind of starting with an all-in-one paint because it's going to make my life easier. So I just want to get a couple of these painted out. You could just use, I just have a bunch of thrifted ones, but you could just use some dollar store. They could be plastic for this. These ones happen to be glass, but they could be plastic. It doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter the size. So whatever makes sense to you. I was gonna just hold that in my mouth like I do when y'all aren't here. And I'm just gonna set that off to the side to dry. I'm not worried about, I'm gonna do two blue ones. I'm not worried about painting out the lip because we'll kind of get that dealt with later. But you can go ahead and paint the lip if you want to. It's not a problem, it's just, I was kind of holding it that way. So it doesn't take much to be able to paint these. It does mean that we're not going to do the next step until they're dry. But because this is also a shiny Christmas ornament, the paint is going to adhere okay, and it's going to help our next step adhere better as well, our textural element, to have something to be able to stick to. These two I'm not too worried because they're in a matte. And I think that things should stick okay that way. But if things don't, then there's always glue. There's always an option. There's always something else that we can do to be able to move on. Okay, so let me put you in water, put the lid on you. You can see because this is Fusion, I have plastic in between. Let's seal that up. And, okay, I can get started on these guys because they're all ready to go. I'm gonna have these drying on similar sticks once we're done this stage. So we might as well get these started because we're not having to wait for them. And I want to see, just using my finger to hold it for now. I have Spackle. Now, this is what I'm waiting to see. This Spackle is starting to dry up a bit. So what I am looking to do, because it's a little bit dry, I'm gonna kind of form it into a bit of a circle. And I'm gonna start down on my ornament. And I'm gonna push that spackle on. So normally, spackle is a little softer than this, and you don't have to form the ball part. You can just carry on, right? You can just scoop it up. I'm just using a wooden spoon for this because it's kind of the right size. And I'm just sort of shaping these a little bit so they're roughly the same size. And I'm doing them side by side. So let me see if I can just kind of shape it a little bit rounder on my end, and if it's necessary to do the ball stage, because it would make my life easier if it wasn't. I think that's okay. So what I'm looking at doing is going around the complete outside, around the circumference of my ornament, doing this. And you can see, because my spackle isn't as wet as it could be, it's not adhering as well as it could. But if this is wet, and you can just buy this from any hardware store, I'm willing to bet that there's some maybe in the hardware section of a dollar store. I've never really looked, but I bet you there is. So I'm just going around this one, doing this rough pattern. Let me get it all finished, and then I'll show you what we're doing next. Now the next row, we're doing exactly the same thing, but we're placing that next kind of ball or scoop right where the two from the row previous join. So this one will go right there. And we just keep going around. So it's like we're making scallops. And we're going to just continue that all the way around, and then we'll do our next row until we can't do more rows. This last row, because it was tiny, I just started rolling the ball, attaching it in, and just using my little baby finger to kind of pull it down into shape. So this becomes our decorative ornament. I'm going to pop it onto the stick and put that over to the side to dry. I could instead mush my balls toward each other. Creating some raised florals. I just have to dig down for the semi-soft stuff, not the hard crunchy stuff on the top. So if I do these and I'm pulling them toward each other, then I can create kind of a raised floral design. And then, of course, put a bigger ball in the middle and flatten it out and have a flower. And I can do that around the body of my ornament as well. So here's ours with all the little flowers around it. So again, we're going to let that dry overnight. I'm just sticking it into my container with all of my paint brushes. And whoa! Okay, just got hit in the head by an ornament. Okay, let me just take this off the top and not pull it out. Okay, that was just a little scary there for a second. All right, So what I am thinking I might try, this is not sticky enough, so I'm going to scoop some of this out, put it in a little container, and stir it up with a little bit of top coat to loosen it up a little bit, and we'll see how that goes. All right, that has loosened up the spackle. Now, I could just go out and buy another container of spackle, but then that means that this whole half a container is just gonna go to waste. So if you have fresh spackle, you don't have to do any of this part. But given I don't want to waste anything, then I am finding some alternate ways of using the product that I have. And inevitably, this is what happens with spackle or wood filler or anything like that for me. I need it for a project, I buy it, and then the rest of it sits and doesn't get used. I'm just transferring this to a baggie, plastic bag. It's a little thicker than a baggie. But I'm just going to see whether or not I can pipe it on. Now again, I don't want to use piping tools, my piping heads from my kitchen, because I really don't want them to have spackle all over them. If I had managed to thrift some, then I could use that in my shop, but I haven't. So I am just going to take my handy dandy little tool I don't think I can talk and do this at the same time. And I'm just going to pipe some designs. Now you could just stick with the one. I'm just trying a number of different ones just to show you. Because maybe you prefer one versus another. So I'm just going to do kind of these curlicues all over, and as it starts to dry, I'll put it in a couple of dots here and there. So I'm just going to continue with that kind of an idea. All around. For some of our ornaments, I'm going to, these ones that were base painted in the blue, I'm now going to paint the rest in the blue just to even it all out. And, you know, as I try and do another color with those swirls, it's going to be easier if everything is unified first. So I'm going to paint these guys in the blue all over, letting that dry. For some of these, let me just lift it off the top. I'm going to start by painting everything just a nice light kind of creamy taupe color. So this happens to be Champlain by Fusion. So I'm gonna do those guys all in that. So some will be the blue, all over blue, some will be the all over Champlain, letting them dry, and then we'll come back and we'll start to embellish. All of my ornaments have dried now, and this is the more fun part, right? This is where we get to do a little embellishing on them. So let me grab them from up here. All right, I don't like this one. This one's my ugly ball. There's always one, right? There's always one, something that you make that you're going, that one's hurting. That's my hurting one. This one, I envision, it sort of has an acorn look. So far, before being painted, this is my favorite. Just in terms of designs and the look that's in my head, whether I pull it off. So what I do have is I have a bronze paint by Rust-Oleum in their metallic slime. I don't know why I felt compelled to buy this big honking jar of this because I'm halfway through and it is super thick now. So I am not gonna make it all the way through that before it dies, which is why I'm at least using it. Sorry, me being me, I get paint all over my hands. So this is going to be a little darker of a metallic. You could use, like Fusion has a bronze paint that's beautiful and is a little lighter than this bronze. But I like this one. And we're gonna paint this. There's still another step or two after this, just to get the look I'm after. But we're gonna paint this one in this dark bronze metallic. And I don't have to go carefully until I get down to the bottom edges. I'm gonna do that on this one. I'm thinking I might do the bronze metallic on all these flowers because I want to do some aging. So we're gonna add probably some copper as well and see how that goes. This one, I was gonna do silver, but I think I'm gonna do silver on this, and this one I'm gonna do copper. And for those, I have some gilding wax. So you can just take rub and buff or silver, and I'm just gonna use, here, I'm just gonna use a little, I was gonna say chip brush, that's not right, stencil brush. So a little round stencil brush for this one. And this, I will probably just use my finger to go over just the tops of all the scroll work. My problem child, I'm thinking the metallics will be too heavy. For this one, it will highlight the stuff I hate about it too much. So I'm not sure. You may never see this one again. I may just play with it, but sometimes I just look and I'm going, I don't have time to play on something that I know that I'm gonna hate regardless of what I do. So the difference with this is I want to show you just a couple of different looks of things that you can do with it, but really you're using that spackle in different ways. Now you could, these are, I looked and I didn't really have any small stencils, but you could on these, you could have used your stencil and then done your spackle through the stencil to do a raised stencil and pattern on it. So the idea is that you want to use the spackle to create that raised patterning. And for that, it's a much more inexpensive product than buying your air dried clays to be able to do. So I just wanted to show an alternative. I mean, I get that I sell the air dry clay, but that doesn't always mean you need it for everything that you're doing. And for something like this, you can totally get away with using something like a spackle, something that's less expensive to be able to get a similar look and similar result. So I'm going to get this painted out with this color and get it drying because I definitely know I have more that I want to do to this one before it's finished so that I can come back with that. This, I think it'll be done just with that silver wax over the top. And same thing, this one with the copper, just the red and the copper I think is gonna pop. But once I get that on, I may do a little bit of black waxing. So we may be back with that one. We'll see. It's a wait and see. This one, I just know for sure there's more to come. Okay, now what I am doing, I want to take this, I already love this, and I'm gonna take a little bit of bright gold and I'm just gonna use it very lightly on my finger and I'm just gonna kind of go around all the edges. It's just to kind of highlight them a little bit so that you can see them better. See how they kind of disappear? See how they just sort of pop a little? That's what we're looking for on that one. And then once that part's done, I'm gonna set it off to dry, but then I'm gonna paint the base, and I painted it in neutral, so we could do this, but I'm gonna paint the base with Mod Podge, a glue, just any glue. And then I'm going to add this color sparkles. So the base is gonna be all sparkly because it's a Christmas ornament, why not? So this is where we now start adding some glitter because we're just having fun. And if I'm ever gonna do anything with glitter, it's Christmas. Christmas is the time. So let me just finish this guy. Turn him around. Put him off to the side. Awesome. So you can see that that kind of highlights that a little bit more. So he's going to get glittered up. Now this red one, I had put the copper on just because if the glitter doesn't cover all of it, then I have a good foundation. And so I'm just going to take my glue on a little brush, paint it in a circle, dip it in the glitter, and there we go. And then I am going to do little dots here and there-ish, and I'm going to use a silver glitter so that ultimately that will be all glittered. And this one I did with the silver so that again it's kind of covered, and I'm going to paint and then I'm going to dip it into the silver glitter. So we've got all of this glittering happening, and then I'll let them dry and I'll come back and I'll show you. But you know, this is the glitter party time. Our ornaments are dry. So here's what we've got. We've got our red one with our raised dots and glitter. We have our silver scroll work one, which is quite lovely. We have the raised flowers, and then I just added some other sparkle dots. This is kind of like a pine cone, and I like how that turned out. We have our ugly one, which is the only time you're going to see it now. It's not going to make the pics. It's just not right. But I hope from this what you get is are ideas of your own of how you can take that spackle and use it to create raised patterns on your ornaments. I know that there's lots of people that are doing the clay in their molds and adding them to the outside of the ornaments. I've done that myself in earlier videos, but I wanted to show you an alternative. One, because it's a little bit more price effective, which I know at the holidays is a big deal and makes a difference for a lot of people, you know, because let's face it, I mean, with the whole present buying and all that sort of thing, anything that saves some money at the holidays is a plus. But it still gives you a lot of great raised detailing and design options, and it's just fun to play with. So whether you're doing this on your own with your kids, anything works. I got glitter everywhere, so I would be reluctant to do it with my children unless I was planning on having glitter throughout my entire household. But you do you. I'm not big on glitter, so I don't want to be wearing it forever, but I know that it's going to be all over my face and in my hair and any place that I've touched throughout the entire shop until it just finds its way to finally settle and leave. But raised detailing with a little bit of spackle, not a bad deal. Let me know what you think of this one, guys. Always look forward to hearing from you, and definitely look forward to seeing you on the next one. Until then, take care.